The New York Knicks confuse me. I think that's going to be the title of this video. This team, I'm not super low or super high on them. They just confuse me. Alright? Let me start with the positives of this team. This team's issue last season was its offensive struggles, and they have definitely improved on the offensive end this year. They managed to sign Kemba Walker for a mere $8 million a year, and even in his cardio Kemba state, that is a steal for Kemba Walker. Phenomenal. They re-signed Derrick Rose, they re-signed Alec Burks, they signed Evan Fournier. This team has improved a whole freaking lot on offense, and they also managed to draft some solid guys who could be usable immediately. Guys like Quentin Grimes and Miles McBride. Those are the two main ones, alright? This team definitely improved on offense, and they managed to do so without really losing anything on defense. Yeah, Kemba Walker is a pretty bad defender. Derrick Rose at this point of his career is also a pretty bad defender. But they've still got very good defense overall, and I expect this team to still be a top 10 defense in the NBA, even though I do expect a little bit of a fall off. If they're top 5 again, I would be pretty shocked, but I would not be surprised at all to see them at like 7th or 8th, you know? Offense, they've improved. Defense, they've stayed the same. And depth-wise, this team has a ton of depth now at almost every position. And for almost any other team in the league, I would be very excited about that. I would be like, that's a really good thing. But for this New York Knicks team, I've got to be honest, I don't really understand their depth. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let me explain, alright? The Knicks currently at point guard have Kemba Walker. They have Derrick Rose. They have Miles McBride, who they just drafted. They might have a guy named Luke Vildoza, who, he's some dude from Argentina. I don't know if he's actually going to play for the Knicks or not, but they might have him. That is at least 4 pure point guards right there. Following them, they also have Emmanuel Quickley and Alec Burks, who I would call both of them a point guard. I would call both of those dudes more point guards than anything else. Now, we're going to be generous here, and we're going to say that Alec Burks is really a shooting guard, and Quickley is the only point guard here. So at minimum, this team has 5 point guards, maybe 6. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. This team has 4 point guards, maybe 5. Then, at shooting guard, you have RJ Barrett, you have Evan Fournier, who they just signed, and you have Alec Burks, and you also have Quentin Grimes, who they just drafted. So you have 4 to 5 point guards, 4 shooting guards. At small forward, they have nothing. They have Kevin Knox, and I wouldn't even count Kevin Knox because this dude's so bad, he may as well be out of the league at this point. Everyone hates him, New York fans more than anybody. This dude's just not good at basketball, I'm sorry. I really hope maybe he gets traded for like a pick and ends up somewhere else where he can be like semi-decent. But for the Knicks, Knox has sucked. Alright, so they have no small forward on this team. I'm guessing they're going to play RJ Barrett at small forward primarily. They'll start him at small forward, and then like Fournier and Burks will play some small forward. Like I'm looking at things that say that Burks is a shooting guard small forward, and no, he isn't. He's a point guard shooting guard, and I would generally say he's more of a point guard simply because of his size. If you're playing Alec Burks at small forward, you're going to get killed on defense, okay? That is not good. So, tons of point guards, tons of shooting guards, no small forwards. Then we get to the power forwards, and there are only 2 power forwards on this team, but they still confuse me a little bit because they just signed Julius Randle to 4 years and about $30 million per year. I've heard some people say this was a steal for Julius Randle, but considering he just had the best season of his career at the age of like 28, and I don't really see him improving more past that, and he choked in the playoffs like hella, I don't think that this was by any means a steal. I would say if anything, it's a little bit of an overpay. Like, I really would have wanted to only give Randle like $25 million a season. And you're not trading this contract, by the way. You are stuck with Julius Randle now. He's a very good player. He just made an All-NBA team. I'm not trying to hate on Julius Randle here. He did just have a phenomenal season last year. But he's not really a three-point shooter. He's not like an elite defender or anything. He's not somebody you're going to want to be like a main ball handler. He's just not really like a great complementary piece to another star in any way. So none of the other teams who are doing really well are going to be like, oh, I really want to trade for Julius Randle. If the Knicks do get in a situation where they decide they want to get rid of him, I just don't see any trade offers out there. So you are stuck with Julius Randle for the next 4 years. And coming back here real quick, we'll go back to the power forwards in a minute. You know who else you're stuck with for 4 years? Evan Fournier. They paid Evan Fournier 4 years, $78 million. Am I crazy? Or is that a massive overpay? I saw a video by a funky diabetic the other day, and he said something like, as a Celtics fan, I don't know why we didn't just sign Evan Fournier, like we really didn't have the $20 million a year to give to him. No, funky, nobody has $20 million a year to give to Evan Fournier. That is a terrible contract. You got Evan Fournier for a second-round pick for a reason. Yeah, that was a steal, but Evan Fournier is a role player. He is not anything close to a star. He's getting up there in age. This dude, if I was signing Evan Fournier, I would give him maybe an MLE. At most, I would give him like 10 to 12 million. Evan Fournier is not anywhere close to a $20 million a year player, especially when you already have a bunch of other shooting guards on the team. They didn't need Evan Fournier. This wasn't a big need, okay? Yeah, he makes them a little better on offense, but not $20 million better, okay? Just doesn't make sense to me. So back to the power forwards. Julius Randle is going to be the starting power forward for the next 4 years, which means coming off the bench will be Obi Toppin, who was their lottery pick in the previous season. I don't know why they picked this dude and then signed Julius Randle long term. I guess he's just going to be a bench guy? Like, if you have any hopes for Obi Toppin, he's not going to develop on this team. And this is where we get into more of the issues. This depth, I really think it's going to hold back the young players. This team does not have, they're not going to be a contending team. This is a first-round exit for the foreseeable future. They're definitely making the playoffs, okay? But they are not getting out of the first round. With the Sixers, Bucks, Nets, Hawks, and Heat in the East, this team is definitely not making it out of the first round, with Julius Randle as their best player, with Evan Fournier making $20 million a year, and with all of these young guys they just got coming off the bench and not developing properly. You look at the center position. They have 4 centers now. They have Nerlens Noel, who they re-signed to be the starting center. Okay, fine. Nerlens is a good player. But then they've got Mitchell Robinson, who a few years ago was their center of the future. Now he's coming off the bench. You've also got Taj Gibson on this team, and you've also got Jericho Sims, who they just drafted. Now, I know he's a really low draft pick, but still, that's 4 centers on this team. Mitchell Robinson, who is supposed to be your center of the future, is coming off the bench. Obi Toppin, who was your lottery pick last year, is coming off the bench. Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley and Miles McBride, who were drafted very recently and all of a lot of potential, are coming off the bench. And even when RJ Barrett plays, he's now sharing the ball with Kemba Walker, with Derrick Rose, with Julius Randle still, with Evan Fournier, with Alec Burks, with a whole bunch of freaking people. These guys are not going to develop into the star players you think they can be if they're all coming off the bench and splitting minutes with 10 other guys who are currently on the same talent level as them and want the same amount of shots, if not more, because they're on bigger contracts and they've been in the league longer. It just doesn't make sense to me to have all these young players and to be having them come off the bench. I really thought the Knicks, with the most cap space out of any team in the league this offseason, were going to go after DeMar DeRozan. We're going to go after somebody. Give somebody who's really good a really big contract. But no, what they did was re-signed all their other dudes, overpaid Evan Fournier, got Kemba Walker on a steal, and drafted a whole bunch of young guys who now aren't going to get the opportunity to show that they can be really good players in this league. Again, New York Knicks, definitely a playoff team, but at the same time, definitely not making it past the first round. This team just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and even though they're definitely not going to be bad, they're not going to be that good either. I just think this offseason was very confusing, And while this team stayed good and even improved a little, they didn't improve nearly enough to be considered among the elites in the East or to have a chance at being real contenders anytime soon.